Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Project Freelance podcast. My name is Kay, and I am your host. What's up? I am a videographer, photographer, drone pilot, podcaster, urban explorer, musician. I do a lot of things. But this is the podcast where I talk about freelancing. I usually have guests on to share how they built their businesses, and I've got a couple guests coming on in the month of October. Very excited about that. Today, I wanted to do like a little recap, what happened over the weekend type of situation. So I just got back from LA Comic Con. I cannot believe that I went to LA Comic Con. I can't believe that I got paid to go to LA Comic Con. That's the crazy part. I always told myself that like big conventions like that, like it's really hard for me to just go enjoy. Like if I'm not working, like I feel like I'm wasting time. And I feel like that's kind of just how I normally feel. If I don't go to conferences or conventions unless I'm working, just because I don't know, it's hard for me to like separate work from play or pleasure, you know? So I try to like put them both together. And like, if there's an opportunity to do some work at a conference, like why not capitalize on that? And I shouldn't even be uploading this video, this podcast, but I am because I was supposed to be in Florida right now. Last night I was supposed to fly to Florida to go film another convention. So I flew from Nashville to Los Angeles to film Comic-Con Friday, Saturday, and then flew back to Nashville Saturday at noon, so that I could get home, unpack, pack up all the gear that we rented for Comic-Con so that it could be shipped back today by a friend of mine. And then I was supposed to fly yesterday, Sunday. I was supposed to get up yesterday, go to Universal Records here in Nashville and do a photo shoot for a band called Morning in May on the rooftop at Universal Records. And then I was going to go back home, grab my gear for this other convention in Florida, and go to the airport, get on a plane, fly to Florida, film today and tomorrow in Orlando for another conference that is totally unrelated to Comic-Con. But there's a hurricane about to hit Florida again. And so the whole conference got canceled. I found out like 4 hours before my flight, canceled my flight. It was a whole mess of a situation. But anyway, I wanted to share with you guys my experience filming at Comic-Con and how freaking awesome it was and how cool the team was. I would like to insert a bunch of footage, but I can't do that because it's like proprietary footage for my client. But I'll kind of give you guys as much of a rundown as I can and put in some footage that I can put in. For example, let's go ahead and start with a little recap of just all the cool cosplayers that I got to film at LA Comic Con. By the way, we rented a RED Raptor camera kit. So RED Raptor, lenses, monitors, batteries, accessories, handles, grips, all kinds of stuff. So check this out real quick. If you are listening to this, maybe watch the video version on Spotify or on the Project Freelance YouTube channel. Check it out. That was a little recap that I made of all the cool cosplayers that I filmed in super slow-mo on the RED Raptor. That camera is crazy. So renting a Raptor is just nuts because now I want one. It's such a cool freaking cinematic camera. By the way, we rented the gear. Shout out to Lensrentals. They used to be called Borrow Lenses, but they got absorbed by a company called Lensrentals. I've used them several times for different things, and so we used them to get this gear for LA Comic Con. I was out there filming for the Adventures of Starman. My friend Eli has a comic book series based around Starman, who is the astronaut that was put in Elon Musk's Tesla Roadster. Obviously, he's a mannequin. And launched into space. If you haven't seen that footage of the actual launch with the red Tesla Roadster, You should just go watch it. I'll put a link below if you guys are interested in that. I know everyone like hates Elon. He's giving supervillain energy right now, and not great. He's in his like fuck around and find out era of like trying to go against the FAA to just launch things without approval, which will end very badly. But that's a story for another time. The guy's gonna end up in handcuffs if he launches the next Starship IFT-5 on the 13th, which is this weekend. So I hope he doesn't, because we are not prepared to go film that. If you don't know, I do film the rocket launches down in Boca Chica, Texas, in Brownsville with a group called Interstellar Gateway. We also have a photographer and videographer out in Florida to film the Cape Canaveral stuff. His name is Brandon Wynn. I've actually had him on the podcast before. And what's crazy is that I met Brandon at a NASA social event, which is where NASA basically invites like social media people to go to Kennedy Space Center and get a private tour and see a rocket launch and capture a rocket launch. So I met Brandon there, and we just have stayed in touch. And when Joey, who founded Interstellar Gateway, was talking about expanding, I was like, dude, I know the perfect guy in Cape Canaveral that we could bring on. So that's where I met him. And through my love of space things and shooting rocket launches, I actually met Eli, who created the Adventures of Starman comic book series. Eli, I actually hit him up and was like, hey, I'm doing a music video about an astronaut that crash lands on Earth and his ship is broken, and then he wanders out into the desert, writes a letter to his love, leaves it under a rock, takes his helmet off, and dies. That's the storyline of this music video for my band Chasing Satellite's song, The Last Spacewalk. And I was like, do you want to be in this music video? And he was like, hell yeah. I've actually had Eli on the podcast as well to talk about everything he's making. Adventures of Starman, to fund the comic book series, kind of started out as like an NFT project, and it helped him fund all of his things. And so when it came time for him to book a booth at Comic-Con, he reached out to me and asked if I wanted to go film for him at Comic-Con to capture the event, behind the scenes, fan interactions, all kinds of stuff. So it was really cool. And I just quickly would like to show you guys the series so far. Oh, okay. So I think these are in order. Okay, so The Adventures of Starman. Sorry, I know the light's a little crazy, but this is the first episode. Obviously, you have Starman in that Tesla Roadster. So Eli basically got permission from Elon and SpaceX to use his name and likeness. So you'll see Elon in the comic book series several times. This is episode 2, I believe. This is Big Oil Strikes Back. These are just so sick. And I think Big Oil Strikes Back is like a 64-page episode, which is insane. So there's Big Oil, and then we have Operation Darkstone. Super cool. This is the back, by the way. There's Elon right there. Look at that. And then we have The Adventures of Starman Begins. And then actually at the last SpaceX launch, the IFT-4 launch, Eli was unable to make it, and I actually had to go pick up some of his comic books that he had shipped there, and he wasn't able to get them because he couldn't make it. His flight got canceled because of weather. But I picked up a box of this episode, which is called Shadows Over Mars. Super sick. Look at Rocket Lucy on the back, just struggling to survive. And then the coolest thing was that for Comic-Con, they made a special limited edition episode for Comic-Con, starring Starman and the LA Comic-Con mascot, which is the first time that he's been put into a comic book. His name is Stanley. Stanley, you get it? But this is the LA Comic-Con edition of Adventures of Starman. There is the LA Comic-Con Convention Center with the logo on it. It's so sick. Probably the coolest part about going to LA Comic-Con was meeting the entire team behind Starman. Eli's girlfriend, Danny, and the illustrator, Ronald Acosta. Ronald actually signed my episode of the LA Comic-Con version. And by the way, I don't know if you can see that, but this is issue number 69. You know I had to. So that is really cool that Ronald signed that for me. So this is the entire This is all of the Adventures of Starman episodes, and I am very grateful to be on the team. I got asked after filming LA Comic-Con if I wanted to be basically the DP, the director of photography for Adventures of Starman things, and I said, of course I do. Like, why not? But can I tell you what? Learning how to use a RED Raptor was definitely... It wasn't as much of a learning curve as I thought it would be. Like, it was actually very, like, user-friendly, and I was able to figure it out. I shoot on Sony's. This is a Sony a7S III, and I've been around 2 Reds before. One of them was a white Raptor, which was so sick. It was used on a music video that I shot behind the scenes for. And then the other Red that I got to be around was at a shoot. I was a PA for a shoot at SeaWorld in San Diego. And the guy that had a Red there... So I'll never forget it. He changed the sound. So you can change the sound of the record button. And he changed it to like the Venmo cash when you get paid on Venmo. The cash sound. And I was like, hey, like, did you change that because you get paid every time you hit record? And he was like, no, I changed it because it actually costs me every time I hit the record button because it eats up memory. It eats up the life of the camera. All that kind of stuff. And I was like, you're a genius, sir. So yeah. That was great. But working with the RED was really sick. 8K, 120 frames per second is just ungodly. It's amazing. Obviously, the noise reduction could be worked on. Like, I didn't have my ISO up that high, but I mean, it's definitely not great in low light scenarios, especially if you're shooting it at that 120 FPS in 8K ProRes. But super fucking cool. The file sizes are insane, of course. I think the second day we shot over 1 terabyte of footage. And not all of it was in 120, by the way. Some of it was at 50 frames per second or 30 frames per second. I think it's like 27.65 or whatever is the frame rate. Maybe it's 23 point whatever, 97. I don't really know. I'd have to look back at it, but I've returned all the gear, so it's gone. But it was really cool to work with a RED. Very heavy and taxing on the arms and the pecs. Like, my chest is in so much pain right now. My shoulders and my arms are pretty sore as well. But I mean, I would love to get a Raptor, another Raptor, like my own Raptor one day. I think that's kind of a goal now, is to get a more cinematic camera that I can work with. It's just really fun. It's just fun to have the option to have super cinematic looks. You can also add LUTs, like custom LUTs into your camera, which is sick. But I think I'll always shoot RAW or ProRes or whatever, just so I can have the ability to color grade in post. And I'm sure those LUTs, you can take them off. I just don't really know. I would have to do more research on RED. But yeah, LA Comic-Con was so sick. Getting to work with Eli and Danny and Ronald and the whole Starman team was amazing. Getting to see all the costumes was sick. And I also got to meet Dan from What's Inside, who is now following me on Instagram, which is super sick. I also got to vlog for him a little bit, which was crazy. But yeah, Eli actually got his Tesla Roadster that we parked inside Comic-Con. He got to drive it into Comic-Con. I have footage of all this, but it's proprietary. It's Eli's footage, so I can't put it in here, but you'll see it eventually on his social media and YouTube channel, I'm sure. Eli got that Roadster from Dan from What's Inside, and Dan ended up signing the battery bank in the car, and Ronald, the illustrator, doodled Starman on the car as well, so that was really sick. But yeah, I would definitely go back to LA Comic-Con if I was working, but I would dress up next time. I didn't bring my Spider-Man suit, which I should have. I didn't bring my Starman suit, which I could have. Failure. But I literally had no room. Like, I had no room. I only brought my backpack, which was full, completely full, and my Pelican case full of gear, both full of gear. So heavy. Putting my Pelican case up in the overhead, it even hurts right now just lifting my arms up, like right here. Putting my Pelican case up in the overhead on the plane was so difficult. I was like, it was such a struggle. But I did it. I got home, and I'm actually kind of glad this conference got canceled in Florida because, one, I don't want to be stuck in a hurricane in Orlando, and two, I need like a break. I need a second. I have a music video shoot this Friday. I have a music video shoot Saturday. Next weekend, I fly to DC. I believe it's next weekend. Yeah, next weekend, I fly to DC. Then I fly to Pittsburgh. And then my cousin's getting married on the 19th. And then I have a convention back here in Nashville on the 20th. And potentially another conference on the 21st or the 23rd. Just a lot going on, man. A lot going on. But I am stoked. And then I get tattooed on the 26th. Yes. super excited. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Project Freelance. Wow, this month is already going by so fast. I can't believe it's already the 7th. This is crazy. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll talk to you next week or next time whenever I get to do another episode. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And let me know what projects you guys are working on. You can now comment on Spotify and YouTube, obviously. So let me know what projects you guys are working on and what you're stoked about in the month of October. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Keep enduring. See you guys.